For a long time, my journey with God felt far and distant. But these things changed everything for me. Hello, friend. These 5 habits I found have brought me closer to God. Let me be clear before I dive in. God doesn't move far away from us or come closer to us. But it can kind of feel that way. It feels that way because our awareness of His presence is either very clear or we don't see Him at all sometimes. So let's not wait. Here's the 5 habits. Number 1, quiet time with God, with a huge caveat. And that is that your quiet time with God, the number 1 reason for it, above all else, is relationship. And we can lose this. I'm a very disciplined person. I love habits. That's why I'm recording one on habits. But here's the thing about habits. We can forget why we're doing it. And our quiet time with God can become a thing to check off. Or I can treat it like, hey, if I have quiet time, my day is blessed. And if I don't have quiet time, He's going to throw His wrath on me. And we can all fall into these habits, can't we? Where the whole reason we were doing something to begin with gets lost. Here's an example, flesh to flesh. One of the habits I have is I'm the first one up in my house. I start the coffee because I need me some caffeine. And one of the ways I love my wife is I wake her up by bringing her coffee to her. And that's how she wakes up. In the beginning, it was a very loving thing. Now, if I'm not careful, it's just a habit to fulfill. Drop the coffee, run out the room. It's a slow walk, let's just be honest. But when my heart is one of relationship, and I'm reminded why I do it in the first place, it sets the stage. She can feel that. I actually see her, and she can feel that difference. Have you ever noticed that in your own life, relationship? It's the same thing with God. When we're there for relationship, it changes everything. Number 2, prayer, but specifically listening prayer. Even when I'm talking about the things I want Him to solve, the things I want Him to heal, the people I want Him to be there for, the wishes I have for my life, it can still feel like He's distant. But when I stop and pause and quiet my mind and say, God, would you speak to me? God, what do you have to say for me? It's in that act of listening that relationship is built. Again, back to people, because sometimes it's easier to see that. When someone truly hears us, it's like water in the desert. Because so often we're talking and sharing things and to someone half paying attention. And we can be this way with God. And building that act of listening prayer builds relationship. Number 3, stop and check in. Look, we have to do this all the time. We need to pause in our day, stop, examine where we're at. Because our natural human nature is to worry about problems, to think about what we have to do, and get all stirred up with anxiety. And when we stop, notice, is my jaw tight? Is my body tight? Is my mind whirling about all the things I need to get up? Then that means I'm anxious. And I need to look at what actually is going on by naming what is going on inside of me so that I can give it to God. Because what I just described to you there, when we pause and we're thinking about the problems, thinking about who are we not thinking about? We're blind to the presence of God in our life in that moment. And when you get there, because we all get there multiple times a day, it's not something to be shameful about. It's something to notice and name. And when we notice and name, then we cast it to God. Just like 1 Peter 5:7 says, cast your anxiety on Him because He cares for you. 1, you have to notice that you actually have something to cast. And 2, you have to name what you're actually giving to Him. But the third step is sometimes the hardest. It's actually giving it to God instead of holding it still, like a little pet that we pet around and just circulate. No, give it to Him. Get rid of it. It's not serving you well. And in that moment, you will see Him in your life again. Number 4, End of the day journaling. Even with all those steps, I can miss how God was in my day, both small and large. And as I journal at night, as I think through my day, I can see where God's presence was alive and well, or where He was giving me good gifts of the people in my life, or just the moments, or the smile of someone. Those are all given by God. And when I record those things down, it brings my heart up in one of gratitude and reminds me that He's there. And honestly, it also shows me in the future points at which I can see Him more clearly throughout the day. Because I'm in this act of noticing Him. Number 5, memorizing Scripture. Memorizing Scripture. If we really believe that the Bible is the words of God, it is put there for relationship with us. And when we memorize it, we are looking at the character of God, how He feels towards us, what He thinks about certain situations, all these things. That's how we study Him. That's how we get to know Him. And isn't that how relationships form? Like when you're first dating someone. When I first got together with my wife, we were 17 years old. I was so excited to learn about her, who she was, what she liked, what she didn't like, the thoughts that she had. And I still am today. And that's how we need to be with God. And we can do that by memorizing His Word. And that way, when I'm thinking something differently than what His Word says, it's a clear sign I am moving away in my thought life from Him. And quoting the Scripture moves me kind of closer mentally to Him. Look, if you're not doing any of these things, just fair warning, don't try to do all of them at once. That's how this guy rolls, and I kind of like, New Year comes, January 1st, and it's like, I'm going to do these 100 things, and I'm going to do them every day for the rest of my life. And then a weekend, it's like, oh, I can't do any of them. That's us trying to do too much. If all 5 of the things I've listed you don't do one. Just do one of them for a month, and then add another one. Don't try to eat the whole elephant at once. It's just one bite at a time. Have a great day, and God bless you in your journey, my friend.